All right, we are live for the Thursday edition of the Morning Check-In. And as always, looking forward to connecting, share my 2 cents on a variety of subject matter. And it's going to be a very interesting morning because silver is finally telling us something. The question is, what is it? And is it too early to get excited, given the fact that the powers that be that have suppressed the price of silver for the last several decades are still in control and could potentially slam it again? But we're going to touch on that and a variety of other things. So, as always, welcome to the live stream. Looking forward to connecting, streaming on a different multitude of platforms. So, hopefully, everything is coming through clearly, loud, and clear. And we're going to make this work. So, let me know for those who are checking in where you're watching from. Just out of curiosity, I want to know where the viewership is coming from. And then also, feel free to share thoughts, ideas, suggestions, anything that tickles your fancy. Would definitely love to find out what and where your eyes and ears are these days. So feel free to let me know. Give me a second here. Let me get everything going, and then we're going to have some good back and forth. And as always, looking forward to hearing from you guys. So feel free to let me know what is going on here. And it's going to be a good morning. So as always, I'm going to give you the good news. Ultimately, the daily devotional. No better way to start your day other than inside of the Word of God. And then we'll get into some market activity, touch on the price action, and then we'll get into some noise, just some headlines that gives us a different, perception of what is really happening out here. So it's going to be a good day, man. So for those who are checking in, let me make sure everything is flowing smoothly here, and I want to make sure I can see everybody. So it looks like we got a couple people checking in. We got Dan Z from Yashaba, Mexico. How you doing, man? Hope all is well with you. And as always, looking forward to connecting. And what's happening down in Mexico, man? Let me know. Keep us posted. Keep us posted. I know you're doing big things down there on your property. Keep it up, my friend. Okay, so I don't want to waste any time. I want to be straightforward and to the point and just making sure I am flowing smoothly here before I move it forward. So let me see what I got going on here. And yeah, we're going to have some fun with it. And let me make sure I am flowing here. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and we're going to make it go. So let's get right into it. Looking forward to let's start it off. So as always, the goal is to get you started on a spiritual standpoint, get your spiritual man churning. And so as you can see here, we got the daily devotional for June 5th. I'm going to read it, share my 2 cents on it, and then we'll keep it moving. So let me make it bigger on my end so I can see what it says. It says, carrying out your assignment. It says, and say to Archippus, be sure to carry out the ministry the Lord gave you. Colossians 4:17. Jesus just didn't come to save you. He came to assign you. In Luke 19, Jesus tells a parable of the 10 servants. Each one received a mina, a measure of responsibility. And the command was simple: occupy till I come. That's kingdom language for carry out your assignment. Colossians 4:17 says, be sure to carry out the ministry the Lord gave you. Archippus had a divine task, and Paul reminds him, don't sit on it, don't delay, fulfill it. Now watch this. Jesus, even as a child, said in Luke 2:49, I must be about my Father's business. Not just in the church, but in purpose, in calling, and in territory he was assigned. So if Jesus had an assignment, so do you. It's not optional. It's not negotiable. It's eternal. You are not random. You are deployed. Your assignment is how heaven invades earth through you. The closing prayer is, Lord, stir my heart to carry out the assignment you've given me, just like Jesus did. In the name of the mighty King himself, Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Okay, good people. That is the good news for this morning. And as always, the goal is just to get you start charged up a little bit spiritually and help you start your day off. Okay, so let's get right into it, man. I was surfing the internet and I came across something that just caught my attention. And then I noticed a couple of people talking about it and had everything to do with what you see on the screen right here. It is the price of silver and the fact that it crossed $36 an ounce. And of course, it's come below that. But once again, as you can see, overall, the trend is still your friend. It's heading upwards. And while this is exciting for a lot of people who've been waiting on the price to pop, because to me, it is an indicator of either the lack of control or the inability of the assortment of forces at play here. Because mind you, what I believe is happening is a multiple fold, but you have the Eastern Hemisphere versus the Western Hemisphere. You got the paper pushers versus the physical movers. The physical movers being the Eastern Hemisphere, and clearly, what better way to rattle and to, cause a hiccup in the overall plans of fulfilling a smooth reset, other than to cause gold and silver to reach numbers that is beyond control. And so once again, we'll have to wait and see. It's still early, but yet $35 mark. I remember a lot of technical analysts talking about this number being the number that could be the potential floor at some point, and then if it and when it becomes a floor over a longer period of time, the ceiling is beyond what we can comprehend. And then on top of this, you have all the distractions and things of that nature happening. You got Elon Musk all of a sudden now apparently turning his back on Trump, and the mainstream media loving that. But then again, you got Elon Musk on his X account, literally very harsh towards this big, beautiful bill. So what is it? Like, it's hard to read into all this and decipher what it is. And so that's why I try not to focus on a lot of the noise, focus on where the money flows, and the price of where silver goes is ultimately the best way to determine what's really happening here. Because those that have been positioned early, you'll be on the benefit inside of all this chaos here. So let's look at some other activity here in the metal space. So let me refresh my screen here, and then we'll get into it. And I'll share with you some headlines, things that caught my attention. So as of now, gold is $3,341.20. Platinum is $1,131. Platinum has been on the move. Something has happened in the platinum game. Palladium is the last of the 4 potential monetary metals, or industrial metals for sure. And it's under $1,000. So to me, that says a lot, because that is probably the most scarce out of all these metals on here, and the price isn't really reflecting its scarcity. So when it pops, it will pop. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's look at some other sectors here. Give me a second here. Let me just look at. So right now, the 10-year is down a little bit. So we're at 4.5. Now it's 4.39. And so clearly there's been some activity on the back end to try to bolster confidence in U.S. liabilities. But then again, will it stick? Probably not. Wouldn't hold my breath. And then next, let's look at, let's see what's happening in the equities game. So as I refresh my screen here, it looks like equities is in the green as well, apart from Tesla. And so I wondered, is Tesla being down as of right now, 3% or so, is that a reflection of his stance, and are traders, i.e. speculators, putting pressure on him because of his stance on the big, beautiful bill? Yeah, I don't know, but time will tell. But as of now, when everything's in the green, let's make sure that statement is true, if everything's in the green or not. So as of right now, let's look at the occupiers' main objective, making digital assets the numero uno of our attention. As of right now, Bitcoin is not necessarily in the red. So, not everything. But at 104,000 for a share of a ledger, it's not bad for those who happen to have got in early. Okay, so let's get into some of the activity, man. And also for those who are checking in, curious to hear your thoughts on what you think this silver action is all about. Is it a temporary, escape of the monetary forces that be, or is this telling us something for real? And as of now, I see we got a couple people checking in from Los Angeles. We got Denzeev checking in from Nicaragua. What's up, my friend? I like some Nicaragua. Need to hold 35 going into next week. Denzeev, 35 is that number. Natural gas has been running higher as well. We got Posse said, give me money, black guy. Sorry, buddy. It's up to you to get your own weight, my friend. Okay, let's keep it moving. So I was going to do a video yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to do it. But it was all centered around the Elon Musk all of a sudden stepping down from his voluntary role as the Doge chairman, and then just going completely rogue, going out bashing the big bill, saying that it's an abomination. He called it. He said it's going to enslave the American people and make us even poorer than what we are. I'm like, is this, when does this guy decide to tell the truth? And at what cost is he willing to do that? Because him being the number one paper holder, i.e. digital asset paper holder in Federal Reserve note terms, he has a lot to lose. But then again, if he's on their team or on their side, could this be more smoke screen type of diversion tactics to make it look like there's some good and bad amongst all this, when actuality we all know where this is heading? And until anyone could come up with a viable solution on how to solve the $36.9 trillion liability issue, and all the other, as it says here, U.S. total debt, $104 trillion and counting. Not much hope anyway for us as a collective. So it's up to us individually to continue to get your weight up. All right. So, with that being the case, let's get in some headlines real quick. And then feel free to share your thoughts, ideas, suggestions throughout the stream if you don't mind. So, let me refresh my screen here, and then we will make it work. So, one thing is for sure is that everyone's waiting on Jerome Powell to cut. And if the economy is doing so good, according to the powers that be, Donald Trump and everybody else, what's the point in cutting? Keep it as is, raise a little higher, get out any excess concerns of CPI inflationary pressures, and let's just ride this thing out. But then again, we know we're already in the midst of reset, i.e. a recession, depending on how you determine what a recession is, because our government's already recategorized it and redefined it. So there's no way of getting a true, honest response or answer from them guys. Okay, so let's get into some headlines. So as always, for those who are checking in, you can find more of this on rtd.news. Links in the description here. Just a lot of headlines that caught my attention. We'll just filter through it, try to make sense of it, and go from there. So very first one, U.S. and global money supply surges to a record high. Could that have anything to do with the upward trajectory of silver and gold? I'm sure it has a little bit something to do with it. So this is from Money Metals. So just to give you some figures here. Let me give it to you. It says a brief contraction in the 22-23. The U.S. M2 money supply is once again surging, rising by $1.2 trillion in just over a year. So mind you, this $1.2 trillion over the last possible year is not a direct result of the U.S. monetary policy, because our government and our central bank here has been in a QT phase. So it hasn't been an outright deliberate cutting on of the spigot here in the U.S. So this is primarily led by the interworkings of the monetary pipeline, as I like to say, whether it be the creation of currency on ledgers within the banking sector, as well as the issuance of debt from our government. So this is not a direct result of monetary policy, i.e. cutting rates, which then encourages borrowing and lending. So this is a small amount given what should be expected in the next couple of weeks, barring some type of intervention. But it says here, over the past year, gold has been on a powerful run, surging from $2,100 to $3,400, a remarkable 62% gain. That's especially impressive given that gold is not a speculative stock, but a traditionally stable, conservative asset. So $1.2 trillion in a relatively calm environment. I think that's something that could definitely cause people to question monetary policy and decide to opt out of holding U.S. liabilities, which happen to be these things in green, as well as those digits on your screen. And so here you got that chart reference. Since late 23, the M2 money supply has surged 1.2%. So mind you, this uptick here happens to come during quantitative tightening. So imagine when it becomes official QE, when Jerome Powell announces a cut and then a pivot on their selling off of their balance sheet. Because mind you, I think they're down about $5 billion or so every, a month or a week or whatever it is. Very small. But imagine when they stop unloading their balance sheet and start adding to it. That's when things get out of hand. And then here we got just a graph indicating the historical aspect of things. And so from 21 billion, let me zoom in here. From 21 billion in 1920, 21 billion in 1920, and all the way to 18.5 trillion as of now. And this is M1 money. So this is a physical cash, paper, everything in savings and checkings, immediate cash. Think about that. That's a hell of a jump. And we ain't seen nothing yet, in my humble opinion. But that is the result of monetary malfeasance and fiscal irresponsibility. That's all our government knows how to do, unfortunately. And so that right there could be a reason why people begin rethinking the role of the Federal Reserve note, aka what we call a dollar. and that's why silver could be. And of course, I'm about to go on social media and get some other analysts and perspectives as well. But just some things that are happening right now. We got the demand and housing market just got even worse as U.S. as supplies pile up. So, I'm not too well versed on the housing market other than just, the supply of it clearly is not a good thing. And so the supply of houses increasing, therefore means there's more houses that are being listed that are not moving. Therefore, that's an indication that people are not readily excited to go buy a house. Therefore, that put pressure on our government to use the housing sector as one of their measuring tools for the health of our economy. And it has a lot to do with current borrowing costs for mortgages, at relative all-time highs. So that could be a problem. Then, of course, you got Bank of Canada forecasts a mortgage crisis. Defaults are set to skyrocket. We know Canada's housing bubble is their primary economic driver. It says, why lending money at interest is not usury in the modern world. That's us from Mrs. Institute. And then what I'm sure Donald Trump is extremely jealous about is the fact that the ECB is continuously cutting rates. He actually tweeted about it, saying that they've had 9 cuts, or as I said here, 8 consecutive cuts, and the Federal Reserve has only had a measly what's that, 2, 3? And so literally Donald Trump is not happy with this. He's calling for the same amount of cuts, if not more. And then he talked about removing the ceiling altogether and alleviating the idea of just putting a cap on the debt. That's what he's talking about. So once again, that's a clear sign that his goal is to print his way out of this mess, which means our currency is destroyed. Therefore, our way of life will be, destroyed as well. But ECB cuts rates by 25 basis points as expected, slashes 2026 inflation forecast. And so 52 out of 52 economists are fully priced in by the market. The ECB just cut rates by a quarter point down to 2%, the 8th consecutive cut, one which will hardly make Trump any happier than the Fed still remains on hold. So once again, they're nowhere near where they're going. They're going to ZERP. Everything to keep this bubble alive, ZERP, zero interest rate policy, is mandatory. And then to even give the illusion that things can recover, we're going to have to go to NERP, negative interest rate policy, because that is the bottom of the barrel. And that would mean that any borrowing, they will pay you to borrow. And that is the world we're heading into. So there's already a couple countries in Europe that it's at negative now, where literally they will pay you to take out a mortgage. And so that is unheard of. Those are all signs of the end. When you got a president begging, demanding the current Federal Reserve chairman to cut. Like, I was thinking the other day, if Donald Trump wasn't so active on social media, saying some of the most absurd things and literally moving the markets with his mouth, and if he was a silent president, didn't tweet, that had no social media presence whatsoever, the economy would have been crashed, because it's his words when he comes out with these fake trade deals. I just spoke to Xi last night, and we're going to talk again next week. So just saying stuff like that, next day the markets shoot up. And I know he's lying. Those who pay attention know he's lying. So literally, he's using his words to keep the economy propped up. So imagine that. We're so distressed as a global economy that it all hinges on one man's words that are articulated in text with his thumbs. That's how bad things are. So that wouldn't surprise me why silver is starting to move a little bit, because if your financial future is dependent upon one man's words or one man's tweets or X's or whatever you call them, we're coming to the end, because at some point an event will occur that a tweet or a rant by the president will not solve. So these are just some things that a lot of people may or may not be considering right now. But then again, there's more. And then we'll get to X, and I want to get to some of the other people's perspective on things about the silver activity. But these are just some things I think are worth, touching on, sharing our 2 cents on. And so we got gold shine as private equity goes dark. Von Greyers. Doug Casey on silver, money markets, and the metals role in coming chaos. So these are additional reads that might be worth your time. Rich Dad Kiyosaki says trade fake money for silver. And so we got Robert Kiyosaki, who's become a Bitcoin evangelist, it seems like. He's still has interest in silver. And so this is says silver was up by 5.3% on Monday, the biggest gain in 8 months. And on Wednesday, the white metal surged above 36 an ounce in early trading. The last time it was 36 was in 2011. 2011. Literally, that was my introductory towards rethinking the dollar. When I saw that, of course, at that time I rushed in and grabbed as much as I could, and then literally like the next month or two, they slammed it down, and then 3 or 4 years later, it's down to 15 an ounce. And so, because of that experience that I've had in this rethinking the dollar journey, that's why I wouldn't be too excited about $35, $36 right now, because even though I'm sure it's harder for the powers that be to manipulate things, I wouldn't say it's impossible, because you don't have control of the markets to this magnitude for decades, going on a century plus, with the privatization of our monetary base with the Federal Reserve, and to think that they can lose control that fast. So, that's why I'm like, take advantage of manipulation. Why it's possible. But, if, as far as my opinion to what I see, I'm not rushing to go buy no silver right now. And so I will wait till something cools off before I, buy a little something extra, anticipating it to go beyond 36. That's just my position. But it says here, just a little couple more. It says, over the last year, the 35 has stood as a significant resistance level for silver. The money metal price chart below plots silver nearly 100% move higher over the past 3 years. So what they're saying here, over the last 3 years, this chart here showed a incremental increase in the price. And it says, we've also finally seen a narrowing out of the gold and silver ratio to 94-1. It has been hovering around 100 for the last several months and rose to 103 in April. This could signal the beginning of a rally that will bring silver closer to its historical relationship with gold. In modern times, the gold to silver ratio has averaged around 60-1. So either gold remains stagnant where it's at now, 3,300, and silver has its day of going 37, 38, 39, 40, whatever, to lower that ratio, or silver just shoots up and catches up basically to where we can get it closer to that 60-1. And those are still relatively calm market conditions, I believe, because the extreme of these type of ratios would be a 15-1. And of course, my guy, what's his name? Chris Dwayne is saying that, he's forecasting a 1-1. And I wouldn't be that bold and courageous to go out and say 1-1, because if it's a 1-1, I don't know what type of world we living in. Nobody who was prudent in stacking weight will be in an environment where you can actually enjoy the accumulation of your weight, because we'll probably be in some World War III, very dark and doomy type of times, and I don't want that. So that's just me. But anyway. Okay, so real quick here, let me check in with the chat. Feel free, as always, as I mentioned, throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and it looks like got a lot of activity. Let me see if I can read through some of it. It says here, he's live right now. Free Palestine. Of course, that's something the mainstream media will never talk about. And it says, I'm stacking physical on dips, buying shares of SLV and selling covered calls. Rob Canton Jr. got a strategy. Do your thing, Rob. Rob says, no way 1-1. Once again, I would never say never, because we're literally right now, this environment that we're in where nothing makes sense. When you got everything in the green, everything is extremely high. I actually posted yesterday Warren Buffett's his indicator. Let me grab that if I can. His market capitalization versus GDP ratio that he has is at an all-time high. Let me see. So let me share with you what I'm referring to. Let me go grab it. And so basically, something has to give. And when it gives, there's no telling what the valuation between gold and silver will be. Warren Buffett indicator. Give me a second. Let me find it. Okay, so here you go. So I'll just share this with you so you can see what I see. So here we have, you just type in Warren Buffett indicator. It'll give you the most recent one. And so this is what it looks like. So Warren Buffett indicator jumps to 198%, the second most expensive valuation of all times. And so literally you take the Wilshire 5,000, which is the valuation of 5,000. This is, global. Well, I think it's 5,000. Is it? I think it's world. I think this is world equities, I believe. Or could be 5,000 US. I'm not sure. I think it's world. Anyway, but to GDP. So the mean is the line, the checkered line. 2000, it exceeded it. 2007, it was up there. And then look where we're at now, 200%. And so there's always a correction. So if you look at 2000, we know what happened. Okay, so just according to these metrics here, as you see, 2000 peak, it came well below, caused a rebalancing of things, introduced the whole concept of quantitative easing, i.e., legal monetary counterfeiting. 2007 came well below. So that's so if I was a trend guy, you draw your line from this low to this low. That's something to be concerned with. And because we're coming out of home stretch, out of sheer desperation, we are well beyond. So if I was a TA guy and if I drew a straight line from and touched this bottom, where do you think this line is going to go? This line is going to be like right here. It's going to be way down here somewhere, meaning that the Wilshire 5,000, based upon possibilities or perhaps probabilities, is going to go so low where I wouldn't be caught off guard if gold and silver went to prices that were so astronomical, where the ratio got closer to what it comes out of the ground as 9-1, 10-1, depending on where you're mining at. So that's just those two metals. Then you got platinum and palladium. Those have to respond as well. Because mind you, what will happen is, like, I see Lawrence Lepard, with his book, The Big Print. I think his base case is 10 trillion. And I mentioned 10 trillion as a base case, before, I heard it from him. And the reason I came up with that is I was just simply talking about speculation in the crypto space, where they would prefer the funds go rather than gold and silver. Gold and silver would be, is the insurance on people who know what's really happening. But on the younger generation, from a speculation standpoint, any type of UBI or stimulus that's coming next is going to race into cryptos, because that's where you have the easiest and the fastest upside, just solely in price. And so let me just, I'm ranting a little bit here, but let me just share with you my hypothesis and what gave me that number. So let me see here. Let me share with you how I came up with that figure. Let me go to the market cap. And so let me give you the market cap all. Okay, so this is my thesis based upon a strategy that I intend on executing as a result of this from a pure speculation standpoint. So on the screen here, we have the market cap of cryptos. Knowing that digital assets will succeed because it's a part of the reset, it is what our Congress now wants. They're more excited than ever for stable coins and Bitcoin and everything else. So that lets me know that this is where they would prefer the funds to go. And so they're going to intentionally make sure to steer this with their narratives. And so this is, 2013, the market cap was 1.5 billion. We had the first wave was 539 billion. And then we had the second wave in 2021 was 2.6 trillion. And then our previous Bitcoin or crypto peak was 3.7. So that's literally, because there was a spike here that you can't see, which is 1 billion, 500, 1.7, 3.9. And after the next flooding of our world with currency, you got half a billion, 500, 1.7, 3.7. My next, at the very top of this, I said is going to be 10 to 11, 12, 13 trillion market cap in cryptos, hands down. Because for those who watch this, M2 goes in equal flow and fashion with the crypto space. And so they're going to create at a minimum 7 to 10 just to try to present that things are stable. It'll break again. Then they'll need to create 7 to 10 more. So that 10 is just a base case, and it will flow into everything, but they will prefer to flow into crypto. So that's why I believe cryptos will go to the moon. So it won't take much to benefit a lot as far as the price appreciation that's coming in the digital asset space. While all along, the insurance, I view it as insurance against the entire system with the metals. So that's just me. That's just me. What do you guys think about that? Feel free to let me know. And so it says, who else heard the new Black Panther is going to be white? Hats. Yep, don't really pay attention to that. Unless some new tech sparks new demand for silver. That is a probability as well, because there's tech that we're not aware of, that which they'll never let us know, because that'll, remove their capture. If we were to find out about new technology, it would completely obliterate their control of the system. And that's why I wouldn't hold my breath, because for sure I don't anticipate Donald Trump to do anything as far as freeing us with the announcement of new technology, thing like that. And of course, everybody who followed Catherine Austin Fitch, she always talked about the underground cities and countries under the ground with the railways and all the technology underneath the ground for those that are going to be included to live down there, if that is the case. But once again, those are things that are well beyond our concern, because more than likely, if we get to that type of event, humanity won't be the same. So therefore, we probably won't be here. So just something just to keep in mind. But anyway, all right. So that's pretty much what I had. Silver, it's kind of early. Don't hold your breath, because as long as all markets are in the green, that lets me know that obviously there's some funny business happening behind the scenes. So therefore, something is subject to give when it comes to that spot price. And before I sign out, let me just share with you just some what's trending, what's some of the latest trends in the silver game here from other commentators. And the best way to do it is type in silver, go to X, and you get an idea what's going on. It says silver still not trending. This is our go post and repost about silver. Regardless, silver is still climbing. We got Chris Marcus says, keep in mind that this is only the third time in history that silver price has been above 36 an ounce. And so he's given us a nice little map here that shows that. So once again, 1980, 2011, and today. So that is historical in of itself. What else we got here? This is not my first video, my experience, the past, whatever. Okay, we got here. Silver has joined the gold party. Silver prices are now up 24 year to date and trading at its highest level since 2012, 2011. Precious metals are still incredibly hot, and they're cheap compared to where they're going to go. Then we had good old Manico, Mario64 says silver and Sinatra. So, yeah. And so speaking of which, let me just refresh your screen and see what has changed since then. So as of now, 35.48 is the current price. So once again, silver's telling us something. We're going to find out what it is in the days ahead. And I didn't even get a chance to dive deep into what was that initial trigger, whether it was something out east or whether it was something said or done here. And I also thought about, it's probably not likely, but if Elon Musk has really decided to go rogue and turn his back on this administration by calling the big, beautiful bill an abomination and more debt slavery, and it's going to destroy our currency and all that stuff. If he's really talking like that, it would be great for him to take his assets and secure his technology companies, whether it be SpaceX, Tesla, whatever, because he's going to need silver to get to the moon or wherever he's trying to go, and to create all this silver, all this, electric vehicle stuff. So they're going to need silver. So what if Elon Musk went out and bought, 100 billion worth and asked for it physical? And that is the reason why the price spiked or something. So that would be interesting, because if he did that, yeah, you better believe, that's not a part of the plan. Something may, unfortunately happen to Mr. Elon Musk if he's gone rogue, but I wouldn't bet that either. But anyway, just speculate, never know, but we'll find out. But It's telling us something. But here's what you think. If you found value, as always, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Join the community. Definitely would love to connect with you. And for those who might be new, you never know, I want to also present opportunities on how to protect and preserve. And of course, as you see on the screen here, we got the good old fashioned gold backs. Just go to buygoldnotes.com, links in the description, and you can get your physical gold up as well. And then for those who want to join these Quicksilver Wealth Accelerated program, feel free to join me here, join the Silver team. You can set up your own store, share your link, be your own customer is the reason for it. So you can always have steady silver coming in and then help other people get their weight up. And then you can be rewarded for your efforts there. So a variety of silver here and gold. So there's no excuse not to get your weight up, my friends. If you want to find out more, links in the description. Go to mysilverteam.com. Join me and definitely love to work with you. But other than that, be blessed, be safe. I will catch you guys later. Shalom.